back after the pay-per-view. Horrible pay-per-view for me. 9 on the pay-per-view. Only 3 fights I got right. It's fucking bullshit. I just had to figure out how to fucking Jimmy Rick the stream because YouTube kept telling me that I couldn't create my stream. Hopefully they figure that shit out. But anyway, let's jump into it. I didn't want to preview Jared Vandier, Justin Tafa, so I replaced it with Ben Rothwell, Chris Barnett, because Chris Barnett's a fucking beast. He's finally getting his call to the UFC. Much love to Chris Barrett for that. Rothwell's coming into the fight. 7-inch height advantage. 6'4", I believe, against the 5'9" Chris Barrett. Could be wrong. I think I seen that on like Topology or something. So they could have his height wrong. Rothwell is 38-8-13, 2-3 since returning to the UFC after his 3-year layoff, 2016. He's lost decisions to Blagny Ivanov, Andrei Arlovsky, and Marcin Tybura, and then he has a knockout win over Stefan Struve and a split decision over OSP. Since he has been back, he is 28 out of his 38 wins via TKO or knockout. He's going up against Barrett, who's 21-6 with 16 of those 21 wins via TKO or knockout. He's got career wins over Walt Harris way back in 2011, Frank Tate 2016, Rashawn Jackson 2019. His most recent win was a knockout win over Ahmed Shilu in September of 2020, UAE Warriors. He's got a crazy style. You know, I wouldn't bet it, but just I got to be a little bit biased here, and then I'm going to throw a little bit of sense behind my biasness. He's got a very unique style of striking. He's got great takedown defense, and although he is giving up a lot of height and reach to Ben Rothwell, Rothwell has been iffy since he's came back. We got the split decision over OSP. One judge said he lost that fight, and then he had the knockout over Stefan Struve, who was obviously past his prime in that fight. So we haven't really seen much from Rothwell since he's been back. Barnett, first chance in the UFC. He's gonna try to make a lot of noise in his first fight. So I'm gonna go Chris Barnett. I wouldn't bet it, but I'm gonna pick him. Jack Hermansson versus Edmund Shabazian. Shabazian 11-1. This is gonna be his first fight since getting knocked out by Derek Brunson, August of 2020. His biggest wins are Brad Tavares and Jack Marshman. He's 4-1 in the UFC. 9 out of 11 of his wins via TKO or knockout. Jack Hermansson, is 21-6, 8-4 in the UFC. He's finished 17 out of his 21 wins, 11 by knockout, 6 by submission. He lost his last fight by decision to Marvin Vittori back in December. And his biggest wins are Kevin Gastelum, Jacare Souza, and David Branch, who all way higher top contender names than Brad Tavares and Jack Marshman. So we're going to give experience to Hermansson. We're going to give level of competition to this point to Hermansson. I'm 100% giving the ground game to Hermansson, not even a question about that. It just really comes down to striking, and if Shabazian can really outstrike Hermansson that well on the feet, can Hermansson get it to the ground, which I don't think he's going to have that much success. I don't think it's going to be a completely one-sided fight on the feet. But I do think that if Hermansson does decide he needs to take it to the ground, I think he does that with ease. So Jack Hermansson's my pick there, -160 favorite, no surprise. David Dvorak is taking on Hulan Pava. Pava's coming in 3-inch height, 1.5-inch reach advantage over Dvorak. He's 20-3, 2-2 in the UFC. Split decision loss to Kaikar France, and then a knockout loss to Rogério Bontorin. He's got a knockout win over Mark De La Rosa, and then a decision win in his last fight against Zalagas Zumagulov. It's 13 out of his 20 wins via decision. He's got great cardio. Dvorak is 19-3, 2-0 in the UFC with a decision win over Bruno Silva and Jordan Espinoza. 15 out of 19 of his wins via finish. 8 knockouts, 7 submissions. Both guys coming into the fight, great cardio. I think Dvorak is more of a finisher. Both been, Dvorak has one less professional fight. so you can't really look at experience. I'm outside, fellas. I'm definitely watching for snakes. I don't know if that was one or not, but we're going to keep our eyes out. Lost my spot. I'm going David Dvorak. Yeah, Pava, it's hard to pick Pava, from a betting aspect. If I was betting on the fight, which my cousin won't let me do, shout out Don Morgan. If I was betting, I would put a little bit down on Pava because he's got such great cardio. He knows how to win fights. And any fight with him is pretty much, flip of a coin. And he's coming in a little bit of an underdog. He can make some money there if he does come out with the win. But I'm going to go David Dvorak since I'm not betting. Felicia Spencer versus Norma Dumont. Spencer coming in minus 350. I think that's easy. Oh, you little fuck. I think it's a frog, fellas. Let's go check it out. Yeah, it's a fucking frog. Damn toads, man. Damn toads. Yeah, before we even read anything, I'll read it off just to give you guys the rundown of it, but I'm picking Felicia Spencer. I think it's pretty easy. She's 8-2, never been finished in her career. Both losses are to Chris Cyborg and Amanda Nunes, two of the best women mixed martial artists in history. She's 2-2 in the UFC. She got a submission win over Megan Anderson, and then TKO win over Zara Ferran dos Santos. 6 out of 8 of her wins via finish, 4 submissions, 2 knockouts. Dumont is 5-1, 1-1 in the UFC. Got knocked out by Megan Anderson, and then won a decision over Ashley Evans Smith. She got 2 submission wins, 3 decision wins, and of course her one loss was that knockout to Megan Anderson. You got common opponent Megan Anderson, which Felicia Spencer didn't have a problem with. Dumont was knocked out by her. I think the fight really comes to Felicia Spencer being able to get it to the ground and dominate her way in the grappling, which I think it's a given. I don't think it's going to be hard for her to dominate the ground against Dumont. On to the next one, Felicia Spencer. Jan Zianan versus Carla Esparza. Gotta love that name. I know I'm fucking murdering it. Jan has a 4-inch height advantage coming into the fight. 13-1-1 is her professional record. 6-0 in the UFC with wins over Claudia Gadelha and Angela Hill, Karolina Kovacevic. Only loss was a submission loss in her 3rd pro fight. She's going against Carla Esparza, who's 17-6. She's on a 4-fight winning streak right now with decisions over Verona Jordorba, Alexa Grasso, and Michelle Waterson. Also, Marina Rodriguez was her most recent fight. So, Carla Esparza's wrestling has got her extremely far in her career, and I think this fight's not. I know a lot of people are going to have this in their lock. As Jan Zianan is going to be a lock. She's an up-and-comer, 6-0 in the UFC. Only 1 loss, 1 no contest on a record, coming in with a significant height advantage. But have we seen her fight a dominant wrestler? 3 biggest wins: Claudia Gadelha, jiu-jitsu, not a wrestler. Angela Hill, kickboxer, not a wrestler. Karolina Kovacevic, kickboxer, not a wrestler. Carla Esparza is going to be the first woman to really test her wrestling abilities, and she's a really, really, really good wrestler. And with her last 2 fights being wins over Michelle Waterson and Marina Rodriguez, I think she wins this fight, she could be next in line for a title shot. And wouldn't everybody love that comeback story for her to come out of the Ultimate Fighter, be the first? I think that weight class is strawweight, so first strawweight women's champion. Lost it, had a rocky career after that. Now got it back on track, 4-fight win streak, moves it to 5 this weekend. Next fights again for the UFC belt. I wouldn't imagine Carla Esparza has a lot left in her tank. Maybe she has a couple fights left here, but you wouldn't imagine that she has, winning a title and defending it 5-6 times. I think if she wins it, she maybe defends 2 or 3 times max and retires. So what a career it would be for Carlos Esparza. I'm rooting for that. Plus 160, I'll take it. 2 underdog picks on the main card. It might be 3. Rob Font going against Cody Garbrandt. Font coming in minus 125. Now, his biggest wins to right now is Marlon Moraes. He's got wins over Ricky Simone, Sergio Pettis. He's on a 3-fight winning streak right now, 8-3 in the UFC. Never been knocked out in his career, only been submitted one time, Pedro Munoz. And he's got 12 finishes out of his 18 wins, 8 knockouts, 4 submissions. So he's good in both places. I don't think he's going to try to take down Cody Garbrandt. I think it's going to be more of a striking boxing matchup, which should fit right into Cody Garbrandt's style. As long as he doesn't lose his cool, man. We've seen Cody Garbrandt's 12-3. All 3 of his losses, Pedro Munoz and TJ Dillashaw twice. TJ Dillashaw, but all 3 of those fights, Cody Garbrandt lost his cool. He had his up moments. He rocked Dillashaw in the first fight, maybe the first or the second. I can't remember which one he did, but he rocked him in one of those fights. He rocked Pedro Munoz in his fight, and then he gets clipped and gets rocked, and he just throws all caution to the wind. And what's great about what I'm saying right now is that it didn't happen in his knockout win over Rafael Sunsao in June of 2020, June of last year, almost a year ago now. He stayed composed the whole time. We've seen a brand new Cody Garbrandt, pick the shots. A lot of people didn't give him credit because they said it was a lucky punch. He kind of ducked and then just threw power, which I don't think that's going to necessarily work with Rob Font. I think it's going to be a very technical boxing match. But I think if he brings that composed, like he doesn't come out trying to kill Rob Font, and he stays composed, and if he gets clipped, he tries to recover instead of going balls to the wall. I think he's got a great shot. Again, I guess I'm picking favorites. I kind of really like Cody Garbrandt. I like Rob Font too, but Cody Garbrandt's style to me is very, very interesting, and I'd like to see him get back to championship level. I mean, regardless, he got knocked out, regardless of the result of the fight in the 2 fights with Dillashaw and then the fight with Pedro Munoz. All 3 of those fights were bangers. Everybody loved all 3 of those fights. For the time that it went on, those fights were amazing. So this guy holding a title in that division would be amazing. It would be incredible. It would be exciting. That's all you want, is for exciting fights every time you watch fights. And for that division, Cody Garbrandt being the champion, every title fight would be an exciting fight. You turn on as of lately, this has been debunked because Kamaru Usman has been a little bit, he's had 2 knockouts recently, 2 or 3 knockouts in his last 4 fights or whatever. But prior to that, he was more of a wrestle and hold you down type of guy. That's boring. Nobody wants to see that as a champion. Now you evolve your style, you get some knockouts, and it could change. Everybody wants to see Francis Ngannou. Everybody wants to see Khan Blachowicz. Israel Adesanya is kind of an iffy one for me. Who else we got? Charles Oliveira now. I mean, in his last fight against Tony, boring, and then this fight very exciting against Michael Chandler. So another one of those guys that's kind of right on the cusp. Bantamweight would not have to worry about that if Cody Garbrandt's champion. Every championship fight would be people on their feet for the entire duration of the fight. Fight card, I'm picking Cody Garbrandt. Fight card rounds out. I think Justin Tafa, Jared Vandier is going to be on the main card, and Ben Rothwell versus Chris Barnett's going to be on the prelims. But whatever. Ricardo Ramos is going to be taking on Bill Aljo. They were supposed to fight a few weeks ago. I think somebody fell out of the fight, COVID or some bullshit like that. Court McGee's fighting Claudio Silva. Bruno Silva's fighting Victor Rodriguez. Josh Coelho is fighting Shai Yilan. Damir Hadzovic is taking on Yancy Medeiros. And Rafael Alves taking on Damir Ismagulov. What we got next week? Also, another just thing to mention is that the UFC is definitely going into other venues. They went to Jacksonville, Houston. June 12th, they're going to be, for the pay-per-view, they're going to be in Glendale, Arizona. And then July 10th, they'll be at the T-Mobile Arena. So although they'll still be in Vegas, T-Mobile, full sellout, July 20th. That'd be Poirier McGregor, and then Glendale, Arizona is going to be Adesanya versus Vettori. Next week after Font Garbrandt, we have no main event. That shit happens. Angela Hill, Amanda Ribas, Nate Landwehr, Maricani, Jarniza Rosenstreich versus Augusta Sakai. I think that's the main event. I think I seen somewhere that was going to be the main event. Santiago Ponzinibbio's back, taking on Miguel Beza. Roman Delace, Alessio Di Chiricho. Muslim Sakala versus Francisco Trinaldo is a great fight. Dude, the week after, what the fuck week is this? June 5th. Oh, so they skip this weekend. Yeah, so we're gonna skip a weekend. Dana, mad disappointed in you for that because, Nadi, this past post-fight presser, you said, and I quote, "We put on fights every weekend." So you can catch us doing fights every weekend for the rest of the year. And I fucking was waiting for the one gap so I could say something, but didn't have to wait long. After this weekend, you got a 1 week gap, come back for June 5th, which, I understand. Things getting back to normal. You can't have fights every single week. People got to vacation with their families. People got to go in for Christmas, shit like that. You wouldn't expect any business or anything like that to be open 24/7, 365. And that's kind of what Dana's doing. Dana and all his matchmakers and the people with the venues and, I guess the UFC PI. It's 24/7, man, 365, unless it's a week that they don't have fights. So I guess I kind of understand it. Whatever. Catch you back next Tuesday. Stay barbecued. You know what it is. Oh, you know what? I've been trying this. I wanted to try this out because me and Dawn would talk about it the other day, and we were saying it's really like weird to like close down the show, like have like a fucking outro or whatever, like play music or some shit. Can't do that. Fucking get copyrighted or whatever. But it's kind of weird to like, oh, stay barbecue, whatever. So I was thinking of this new way to end the show. Check this out. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start off, and I'm just gonna be like,